Hey guys, welcome back to the Different Breed channel. It's been a while since I've done a video like this to come bring you guys some information. I've been doing other bits and bobs. The Different Breed Skool is now live if you want to check out all of our philosophy and education and all that shit. But now that's live and it's been launched, I am back with some regularly scheduled YouTube content. And today we're going to bust some fitness myths that are just a bit bullshit and hold your training back. So let's jump into it. Number one, cardio kills your gains. So let's just get it out of the way. If cardio kills your gains, CrossFitters wouldn't look like this. The only way cardio kills your gains is if you're eating too little, because of course if you start expending more calories by doing additional cardio, you're going to eat more calories to maintain the same weight. If you don't eat the calories, you won't maintain the weight. Or it could kill your gains if you decided to just stop strength training and dedicate literally all your time to becoming an ultra marathon runner. Then maybe it would kill your gains. But in any other situation, it's not going to. In fact, it's actually quite useful. Having a great cardio system is of massive benefit to your gains as it allows you to utilize oxygen better, deliver nutrients faster, remove waste products more efficiently. And all that basically means you can recover in your training sessions better and between training sessions better, allowing you to train more. And I'm pretty sure training more is beneficial for gains. Number two, stretching before lifting will make you weak. And this is kind of a stupid idea. It comes from this study where they stretched calf muscles for longer than 2 minutes and found that if you do that, then you will have a reduced voluntary contraction, which basically means you won't be able to push as hard through the calf muscle. Which, there's nothing wrong with the study, but people have interpreted it entirely wrong in the way they implement it into their training. So firstly, this is a temporary response and it recovers quite quickly. Initially, you will see this massive drop off in strength, but by about 60 minutes, you're pretty much going to be back to baseline. So if you wanted to bang some splits training at the start of your session, because it's quite mentally taxing, then do an hour of upper body work and then do some hamstring work or hip flexor work, like strength work, you'd be literally fine. Wouldn't make any negative difference to your training at all. And secondly, this only looks at one muscle in isolation. But the reality is when we express strength in the real world, we rarely do that with one muscle in isolation. It's to do with a combination of muscles doing different things, both contracting and relaxing. Let's take a front squat, for example. If I wanted to move the most weight I physically can in a front squat, I need a really good front rack. So if I were to passively stretch out my wrists, my shoulders, my triceps, my lats, that would allow me to get into a better front rack, which would allow me to better express the strength of my lower body because I've stretched the upper body, I've made it a little bit more passive, I'm able to put it into a better position. That allows me now to express more strength with my lower body. So there's some nuance to this. The reality is most time you're doing a combination of things, you're doing a compound exercise, and we can understand that there are muscle groups that are the drivers of the movement, the thing that is actually expressing strength, and there are muscle groups that need to hit positions and allow you to perform that properly. So by stretching the front rack, you are expressing a greater amount of strength. If we use this idea that stretching makes you weaker, you would never consider that nuance, and you're going to train worse for it. You're just leaving kilos on the table by not implementing stretching when it makes sense. And finally, you have to train to failure every set, which is bullshit. You constantly hear this touted by social media influencers who have seen a TikTok edit of Tom Platz sending it on squats. Yeah! Kill me! And they then believe that's the only way. But here's the problem. All the bodybuilders that are espousing that you must always train to failure are juiced up to the fucking eyeballs. So literally anything they do is gonna work. For the rest of us who live naturally and actually wanna see progress and live well day to day, training every set to failure is going to do nothing but lead to burnout and injury. If we want to see a positive change in an athletic quality, we need to provide a stimulus through training that takes that close to failure. So for example, if we are training for hypertrophy, we need to take our muscles close to failure through doing reps with a weight. It may be bicep curls, chest press, you get the idea. But by providing this stimulus, our body accumulates fatigue, and that's what we need to recover from. We only actually see the adaptation once we've recovered. So you hit your weight, you get sore. This is a good example just because you'll be able to visualize it. You're not always going to be sore when adaptations happen. That's another myth, but we won't touch on that today. You be sore, you recover, you're bigger, once you've recovered, because there's a process of your body building up over that time you're recovering. What's really important to note is I said we need to get close to failure to see that adaptation. We don't need to go to failure.
And this is the definition of edging.
And going to failure might feel like you're doing more work, because I mean, you're doing more reps, but you are not getting exponentially more work done going to failure, but you are accumulating exponentially more fatigue. And that's the problem. You're just kind of, every time you go to failure, you're just building up more and more and more fatigue, which is going to mean you're not going to fully recover from sessions, which means you're going to see a diminished output. You're going to see your tissues start to become more at risk of injury because you're just building too much fatigue. Training isn't just about training really hard. It's about training hard to the point at which you can recover. We're always trying to essentially get the total recoverable volume done. Basically, the long and short of this is, as I've said, if you just constantly go to failure, you're going to exponentially accumulate fatigue without exponentially accumulating progress. So you just see this happen. And basically, you start overtraining. As I've said, your output is worse, you're more at risk of injury, and all this leads to long-term is less training. And look, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with going to failure once in a while if you just enjoy that. And in fact, AMRAPs are a really good way to start, what's the word I'm looking for? Calibrating internal understanding of RPE, blah, blah, blah. So they're useful. You can do it once in a while, but it definitely shouldn't be every fucking set. Because by doing it every set, you're literally throwing your gains down the toilet. And that is 3 big myths busted for you. We've jumped into them, we've talked through them, and I've told you the facts. So start ignoring these myths because they are fucking killing your gains, and start understanding the nuance of training a little bit more, and you'll make way more gains. And of course, as I mentioned before, the Different Breed Skool is now live. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description below, and you can try it free for a week. And I will catch you next time.